Good day. Today we will be solving quadratic equation by factoring. Okay, to solve quadratic equation by factoring, we are going to follow the following steps. First, we transform the quadratic equation to its standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Second, you factor the quadratic expression. The third, apply the zero product property by setting each factor of the quadratic expression equal to 0. So what is zero product property? Zero product property states that if AB is equal to 0, then either A is equal to 0 or is equal to 0 or both are equal to 0. Okay, next step is for you to solve the resulting equation. And lastly, check the values of the variable by substituting that or substituting it to the given equation. So let's say, for example, 2x squared minus 8x is equal to 0. The equation is already in standard form. So what you need to do is to factor the quadratic expression. The quadratic expression here refers to these terms. So therefore, you have factoring 2x squared minus 8x, factor out common, the common factor. We have 2x times 2x times x is 2x squared, and then minus 2x times, it should be 4 is equal to 0. To check, you have 2x times x squared is 2x times x is 2x squared. Then 2x times negative 4 is minus 8x is equal to 0. So you now have two factors. Then after that, you are going to apply the zero product property, setting both the factors to 0. We now have 2x is equal to 0. And then x minus 4 is equal to 0. And then solve the resulting equation. We now have divide this by 2. You now have x which is equal to 0. And this one, x minus 4 plus 4, then add 4 to the other side. Simply, you can say transpose. So you now have x is equal to positive 4. Then after that, do the checking if the value of your variable is correct. So in checking, you write the original equation, 2x squared minus 8x is equal to 0. Let's say, for example, if x is 0, therefore you have 2 times 0 squared minus 8 times 0 is equal to 0. 0, 0 meaning 0 is equal to 0. Meaning the value of x, which is 0, is correct. Another one, what about if x is equal to 4? So you say 2 times 4 squared minus 8 times 4 is equal to 0. So 2 times 16 minus 8 times 4 is 32 is equal to 0. So this is 32 minus 32 is equal to 0. 32 minus 32 is 0 is equal to 0. It means to say that the solution 0, 4 is correct. So how do we call 0 and 4? We call 0 and 4 as the solution. We may say it's the values of the variable. And lastly, we can also name it the roots of the equation. Roots, solution, or the values of the variable. Next, we have negative 3x squared plus 9x is equal to 0. The equation is already in its standard form. Therefore, you can now factor the quadratic expression. So, factor out the common factor. We have negative 3 and 9. You may say 3. Okay, so 3 or negative 3. X common. So negative 3x times x, that's negative 3x squared. To get positive, this should be negative. So negative times negative 3 is negative 3x times negative 3 is positive 9x. So therefore, our factors are correct. And then, apply the zero product property. So you have negative 3x is equal to 0 and x minus 3 is equal to 0. Solving for x, divide both terms or both sides by negative 3. Therefore, your x is equal to 0. And this one, x is equal to positive 3. Do the checking. So we have negative 3x squared plus 9x is equal to 0. So if x is equal to 0, therefore we say negative 3 times 0 squared plus 9 times 0 is equal to 0. This is 0, 0, so that is 0 is equal to 0, correct? How about if x is equal to 3? Then you say negative 3 times 3 squared plus 9 times 3 is equal to 0. This one is negative. 3 squared is 9. So this is negative 27 plus 27 is equal to 0. Therefore, 0, negative 27 plus 27 is equal to 0. So meaning to say, 0 and 3 are the solutions of our quadratic equation negative 3x squared plus 9x is equal to 0. Reminders, 0 and 3, we call it the roots. What else? You may call it the solutions to the equation or the values of the variable. Our next equation is m squared plus 8m plus 12 is equal to 0. This is already written in standard form. So you can now factor the quadratic expression m squared plus 8m plus 12. So in factoring is actually a trial and error method. So you can only use the reverse of the FOIL method. First, outside, inside, and the last. You start with the first. So the first is the quadratic term, m squared. So m times m, that's your first. Then you start with the last. The last is 12. So you have to select factors of 12, which when added and subtracted would result to 8. So let's say, for example, the factors of 12 could be 3 and 4. But 3 and 4 added and subtracted is only 7 and 1. But you have there 6, you have here 6 and 2. When added, it will result to 8 and 4. So it means that we have a chance of getting the linear term 8m. So let us use 6, 2. 6 and 2. So it means that it should be added, meaning to say that you are going to use the plus sign. So let's check the linear term, 2m, 6m. So that is 8m. 2 times 6 is 12, meaning to say our factors are correct. Then apply the ZPP, the zero product property. We now have m plus 2 is equal to 0 and m plus 6 is equal to 0. Solving for m, you have m is equal to negative 2. And then solving for m is equal to negative 6. Let's do the checking. Okay. To check, you say m squared. Let us write the equation again. Let's say if m is equal to negative 2, then we have m negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 12 is equal to 0. This is now 4 minus 8 times 2, 16, plus 12 is equal to 0. That is 12. Negative 12 plus 12 is equal to 0. Therefore, you have 0 is equal to 0. So this solution or root is correct. Let's have the next one. How about if m is equal to negative 6? Then you say negative 6 squared plus 8 times negative 6 plus 12 is equal to 0. So this is now 36 minus 8 times 6 is 48 plus 12 is equal to 0. 36 minus 48 is negative 12. Then you have plus 12 is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0. Meaning negative 6 and negative 2 are the solutions to the quadratic equation m squared plus 8m plus 12 is equal to 0. Next, we have x squared minus 10x plus 21 is equal to 0. Already written in standard form. So we can now factor this quadratic expression kaninga part excluding the 0. We call this quadratic expression. This part alone, quadratic expression. All of it is quadratic equation. So we have to factor now. So just use the reverse of the FOIL method. The first and the last. This is outside, inside. So the first should be x times x. The last is 21. So you have to choose between what factors which when added and subtracted will result to negative 10. Let's say for example, you may have only 7 and 3. That's for 21. When added, that's 10. So we actually have a chance of getting it correctly. So 7 times 3. So since that is negative 10x, we may have negative 3x, negative 7x, negative 3x, negative 7x. So the linear term is correct. Let's go to the last term, or the constant. Negative 3 times negative 7 is positive 21. It means that our factors are correct. Then apply the ZPP. You say x minus 3 is equal to 0, and x minus 7 is equal to 0. Therefore, x is equal to 3, and x is equal to 7. So 7 and 3 are the solutions to the equation x squared minus 10x plus 21. But we have to check. Let's say, for example, if x is equal to 3, then we have 3 square minus 10 times 3 plus 21 is equal to 0. So this is 9 minus 30 plus 21 is equal to 0. 21 plus 9 is 30. Minus 30 is 0, is equal to 0. Meaning, 3 is a correct root to the equation x squared minus 10x plus 21 is equal to 0. How about if x is equal to 7? 7. Then we have 7 square minus 10 times 7 plus 21 is equal to 0. This is 49 minus 70 plus 21 is equal to 0. 21 plus 49 is positive 70 or 70. Minus 70, 0 is equal to 0. It means that 3 and 7 are the correct roots of the quadratic equation x squared minus 10x plus 21. Next, we have z squared plus 9z is equal to 9 is equal to negative 8. Now, the equation is not written in standard form. So, you have to write it in standard form. Plus 9z plus 8 is equal to 0. So, you now have the equation written in standard form. Then factor this expression. So, you have, so it's a trial and error method. Use the reverse of FOIL. So, let's have 8 as the last term. The first term is z times z. That is z squared. The last term is 8. So, you have to choose factors factors of 8 that is when added and subtracted will result to 9. So, we can have 4 and 2. But 4 and 2 when added is only 6 and 2. Let's choose another one. We may choose also 1 and 8. When added, it's 10. When added, it's 9. When subtracted, is 7. Therefore, there is a chance that we get it correctly. So, you say 8 times 1. Now, since that is 9 and it's positive, so it could be positive 1z and positive 8z. Positive z, 1z, and positive 8z. So, it means that we have 9z. Checking the last term, you have 1 times 8 is 8. So, it means to say that our factors are correct. Then, apply the ZPP. So, you now have z plus 1 is equal to 0 and z plus 8 is equal to 0. So, solving further, z is negative 1 and z is equal to negative 8. Okay, don't forget to check. So, in checking, let's say if z is equal to negative 1, then we have negative 1 square plus 9 times negative 1 is equal to negative 8. This is 1 minus 8 is equal to negative 8. I'm sorry, this should be 9. So you now have negative 8 is equal to negative 8. It means to say that our value of the equation negative 1, the value of z is negative 1. Negative 1 is correct. Okay, let's check for z is equal to negative 8. Then you have negative 8 square plus 9 times negative 8 is equal to negative 8. So this is now 64 minus positive negative, that is minus 72 is equal to negative 8. 64 minus 72 is negative 8 is equal to negative 8. So it means to say that negative 1 and negative 8 are the correct values of the variable z. Okay, you can now solve the following by factoring. Then we will come back later to check if your answers are correct. Okay, time is up. Let's see if you got it all correctly. Let's start with number 1. Okay, let us check if your answers are correct. Let's start with x squared plus 7x is equal to 0. It is already written in standard form. So you have to factor the quadratic expression x squared plus 7x. So common between the terms is x. So x times x, that is x squared, plus x times 7. Then apply your zero product property. X is equal to 0 and x plus 7 is equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 7. So we now have two solutions, 0 and negative 7. To check, this is 0 squared plus 7 times 0 is equal to 0. This is correct. And when your x is equal to negative 7, you have negative 7 squared plus 7 times negative 7 is equal to 0. So therefore, this is 49 minus 49 is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0. It means that our two solutions are correct. So we have m squared plus 8m plus 16 is equal to 0, already written in standard form. Therefore, you now have to factor the quadratic expression m squared plus 8m plus 16. So it's a trial and error. So use the reverse of FOIL method. First is your m times m. How do you get 16? That would result to 8. So you can have 8 times 2, subtracted 6, added 10. So you cannot get 8. So you use 4 times 4. When added, it's 8. When subtracted, it's 0. So you have a chance of getting it correctly. So you have 4 times 4. So since that is positive, so plus. So you now have 4m, 4m. So that's 8m. 4 times 4, that is 16. Meaning our factors are correct. So applying ZPP, you now have m plus 4 is equal to 0. And m plus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, m is equal to negative 4. So we only have one solution. So negative 4 checking, we have negative 4 square plus 8 times negative 4 plus 16 is equal to 0. This is 16 minus 32 plus 16 is equal to 0. 16 plus 16 is 32 minus 32, 0 is equal to 0. It means that negative 4 is a correct solution to the equation m squared plus 8m plus 16. Next, we have x squared minus 10x plus 25 is equal to 0, already written in standard form. So factor x squared minus 10x plus 25. So again, it is a trial and error method. So reverse of FOIL. Let's start with the first term, x times x. The last term is 25. So how do you get negative 10 from 25? You can have 5 times 5. When added, you get 10. When subtracted, is 0. So meaning, you have a chance of getting the correct factor. So you have 5 and 5. So since it's negative, it could be negative 5x and another negative 5x. So that's negative 10x. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. It means that all the terms, the factors are correct. So applying ZPP, you now have x minus 5 is equal to 0 and x minus 5 is equal to 0. It means to say that the value of x is 5. So checking, you have 5 square minus 10 times 5 plus 25 is equal to 0. So this is 25, that is minus 50, plus 25 is equal to 0. 25, 25, 50 minus 50, 0. So it means that that x is equal to 5 is correct. Is h squared plus 6h is equal to 16, not written in standard form. So you have to write it in standard form. You have h squared plus 6h. Your 16 would be minus 16 is equal to 0. Then, factor this expression, h squared plus 6h minus 16. So again, factoring is a trial and error method. Use FOIL, the reverse. So you have first h times h. So how do you get 16? Factors of 16 could be 4 times 4. Added and subtracted, you cannot get 6. Another one, we could have 8 times 2. When added, it's 10. When subtracted, it's 6. So therefore, 8 and 2 is a possible factors of 16. That will give a correct factor of the quadratic expression h squared plus 6h minus 16. So since that is positive, so this could be plus 8h. Then this is minus 2h. So that's 6h. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16 or minus 16. So therefore, our factors are correct. Applying ZPP, so we have h plus 8 equals 0 and h minus 2 equals 0. So therefore, h is equal to negative 8 and h is equal to positive 2. And our last is 4x squared plus 9 is equal to 12x. This is not written in standard form. So we have 4x squared, that is now minus 12x, then plus 9 is equal to 0. Then factor the expression 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. So we have 2x times 2x, that is 2x squared. Then 9 could be 3 times 3. Let us just try it with 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. Let's check. So since this is negative, this could be negative 3 times 2x. That is negative 6x. And then this should also be negative. That is negative 6x. So we have negative 12x. So our linear term is correct. How about negative 3 times negative 3? That is positive 9. So our constant term is also correct. So apply ZPP, the zero product property. So you have 2x minus 3 equals 0 and 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. Since they are the same, you will only compute for 1. So you have 2x is equal to 3. Then divide all terms by 2 to get the value of x. So it means that the value of x is 3 over 2. Let's check. 3 over 2, 4 times 3 over 2 square plus 9 is equal to 12 times 3 over 2. So this is 4 times 3 square is 9 over 2 square 4. Then plus 9 is equal to 12 times 3, 36 divided by 2. Cancel. We now have 9 plus 9 is 18. 36 divided by 2 is also 18. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and ring that notification bell so that you will be notified once I upload another video. Our next topic is about perfect square trinomials and square of binomials. Thank you for listening.